Hello and welcome to Newsmakers on CHCH Podcast, where we go beyond the headlines, taking a deeper dive into the stories that matter to you in Hamilton, Halton, and Niagara. And on today's show, we're going to be focusing on Facebook and Meta. And as you may know by now, access to news has all but been eliminated on Facebook and Instagram for Canadians, a decision parent company Meta made in response to Canada's Online News Act, which aims to make big tech platforms negotiate revenue-sharing deals with news organizations like CHCH for the use of their content. Meanwhile, this week, Google says they may be forced to do the same. And for more on this and on misinformation that is happening because of this, very pleased to be joined by the news director here at CHCH. That's Greg O'Brien. And Greg, I mean, this is a pretty deep conversation. We're going to get into a lot of things. We're going to get into government regulations. We're going to get into big tech companies and video manipulation.
Yeah. You want to start with how terrible a company Meta is?
Okay, so yeah, let's start with that. Recently, someone reached out to you from AFP, which is one of the largest news agencies in the world, in Europe, about fake advertisements for fake investments being run on Facebook. So we got a clip here, and I'm going to preface this with those listening. What you're about to hear is from an interview that our anchor Adam Atkinson did with Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre earlier this year. But the voices you hear sound very much like them, but have been AI generated and are not what all is said in the actual interview. We'll get your thoughts on the other side here.
Went to visit a retiree who earns around $60,000 per month and featured it on your channel. What was the purpose of this visit and why did you choose to go to him?
Meet Oliver from Quebec, a 69-year-old who spent his entire life working at. When he retired, his pension payout was only around $2,000, which is terrible. With today's reality, retirees limit themselves in almost all purchases due to high taxes. That's why our team and I worked tirelessly to create this platform so that Canadian citizens, whether retirees or young families, could earn passive income.
I've heard about this platform several times already. Please tell me and our viewers in detail how you came up with the idea for such a platform.
It all began with the inspiration to create something that would truly change people's lives. We assembled a team of talented developers, experts in artificial intelligence, financial analysts, and I must mention the significant contribution of major companies in our market, along with the government. We addressed key aspects impacting the financial well-being of Canadian citizens. Our goal was clear: to create a platform accessible to everyone, capable of generating passive income, even with minimal investments. We spent days and nights on research, development, and testing.
Greg, you are the news director of the station. You were in the building when that interview was taped. I'm sure if you had heard something like that, I mean, the floor is yours. Having seen that video, having been approached by that AFP reporter, I mean, the last 24 hours, what's that been like for you?
Yeah, I was approached by their digital verification team. So they are doing stories and they're tracking this all around the world. So it's not just limited to us. But this is an ad on Facebook. This is Facebook making money from basically a criminal organization who has stolen our video and are trying to steal people's money. So Facebook is making money off of that advertising for the people to target Facebook's users. And they're not doing anything about it. Like, this is Tony Soprano level of business opportunity. Like, it's just ridiculous.
So I've been on this. I've been on the permalink that you've sent it around to all of us here in the building, just to be aware of it, and B, just to showcase what is being done with our videos, what we have created here. Ironically, on a platform that we're not allowed to post on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wonder why it's going on to Facebook if they're not putting any Canadian news on. And look, there we are, completely faked. The background is correct. Adam's face is correct. Pierre Poilievre's face is correct. Except if you're looking at it critically enough, you can see their mouths are a little bit weird. The audio is a little bit funny in certain spots, but it sure does sound like them. And people are getting duped by this, and they're losing money. It's the fact that they won't take it down because we've asked. Yeah. The fact that they won't comment yet because we've asked just points to Meta not caring and not giving a shit about their own users.
Well, and so I'm on this culinary chef page.
whatever that is.
So this is something that's got 2 likes, it's got 2 followers, but they are running 16 identical ads across different targeted. And again, these are targeting Canadians. These are targeting pensioners. They're saying, hey, you want $60,000 a month, which I'm going to talk to you about being an informed citizen in times like this. But, I mean, that's one of those questions that right off the top, you would think $60,000 a month, it seems like a scam. But
Absolutely. I mean, it rings alarm bells for me and for anybody else who's been online for a long time. But that doesn't make it okay for Facebook to have it on their platform. That doesn't make it okay that they're not sweeping their platform and making sure these things never, ever see the light of day. I mean, when CHCH, if we are ever submitted an ad promoting a false product, we don't run it. We're not allowed. We will be punished. We have CAB rules. We have codes of ethics. We have journalistic codes of ethics that we have to make sure we're running the truth all the time, whether it's in our news or our advertising. None of that applies to Facebook or any other social media.
So we're talking, all of this sort of seems to be not all of it, because this is a very specific incident. AFP is obviously reaching out. We are one, if of not many, news organizations who I'm sure is feeling the effect of this. But how do you, I mean, again, I go back to the irony that here's Facebook making money, but saying, hey, we can't pay CHCH. We can't pay you for the stuff that you give to us or gave to us back in the day. Like, what have the conversations with Facebook been like during these last few months?
So there haven't been any. They're out. They saw C18 and they decided to pull all news off of their platforms. So no matter what you try and find on Facebook, whether it's us, whether it's CTV, whether it's the New York Times, CNN, it's all gone from Facebook and Instagram. And if people are trying to put news on WhatsApp, I'm sure it's gone from there as well. So they are not talking to us. They have just pulled all the news because they know they're going to be regulated worldwide. So they're putting a line in the sand in Canada saying, no, we're not doing it here. We're not doing it anywhere. But the European Union, California, a bunch of other places are all pushing ahead with slapping some regulations on these big tech companies who are just pulling billions and billions and billions of dollars into their own pockets and putting very little back into the countries they operate in.
According to an Angus Reid report that was released in July after C18 was introduced, 85% of Canadians do not pay for any online news subscriptions. Canadians under the age of 64 mostly check social media sites such as Facebook, Reddit to get their news. And federal statistics indicate that 69% of Canadians access news online. Just 11% of Canadians pay for it.
Yep.
So Facebook, Meta, Google, maybe we've heard about that too. If the regulations aren't, I mean, they're saying, well, people don't want to pay for it, so why should we have to pay for it? Where is the responsibility on Facebook to have to pay for stuff that we post that they get to use online?
So what they monetize is engagement, the amount of time that you spend on their platform. Posting, reposting, liking, commenting, all the rest of it. And CHCH, we've done the calculations. We send them hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of engagement annually before they pulled us off and before we stopped even trying to post on there. And we use their numbers to come up with that. That they take that and they monetize it with advertisers that they have. So we are giving them and other social media tremendous value. We still post on Twitter. We still post on Google, YouTube, TikTok, and we are giving those platforms hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, if not more, depending on how you want to do the calculations, in annual value. And the reason why we do that is because we want to reach Canadians with real news. We want to reach the people in our area with real news, where the people in this building have done the research, have done the vetting, and you can trust.
And I guess that's the part of it now is the word trust can go a long way.
Yeah. I mean, I literally don't trust anything I see on Facebook without checking it somewhere else. Yeah. I tell people I know, my kids, when they're on TikTok, because they're on TikTok a lot, they're on Snapchat a lot, please, please, for the love of God, question what you see on these platforms and always try and trace it back to a proper news source.
Well, the one example that when you and I were going back about today's show, there was a video on Instagram, and I had shared it to some of my colleagues here, where it was a one-shot video that was posted on some Hamilton, get your news here from Hamilton page. And it was basically this guy going on a 2.5-minute rant about how we didn't cover the anti-LGBTQ protests a few weeks ago involving schools. And this guy went off for a solid 2 minutes about how we didn't. And I went back and I watched Al Sweeney, who was the reporter that day, who's the first 3 voices you heard were actually people who were there on the side of children, quotes, children's protection.
Yeah.
We used both voices, but that's the video that's getting shared on Instagram. That's the video that's being shared to me. Hey, is this true? Is this what happened? How do you fight back?
It's a long-term game. You just keep putting out what we do every day. We put out, researched, actual factual news every day. We get as many voices as we can every day. We keep, the people who are actual fans of ours and viewers of ours know, because they watch us every day, they read us every day, what we're doing. So the answer is to just, it's a long-term game to keep doing it, because, Al was there. Trending Now did a story on it. Morning Live was, had stuff on it as well. And, as much as we might disagree with one side, we still present that side because that's the news that's out there.
According to, again, the Canadian Heritage Ministry, and that is now Michel St. Ange, I believe, who is
Pascal
Ange, I should say. According to the Canadian Heritage Ministry, which she's in charge of, overall revenue for TV, radio, newspapers, and magazines fell by nearly $6 billion between 2008 and 2020. And the same ministry also estimates that a third of journalism jobs disappeared just between the 6 years of 2010 and 2016, and a total of 474 Canadian media outlets have closed since 2008. 2008 is the number that we're using here, the $6 billion, the 474 Canadian media outlets. You've been in the business. What can you attribute? Can we attribute all those closures to Facebook and Instagram and...
There's a massive shift away from traditional media, newspapers, TV, radio. That's been going on for a while. 2008 is a long way back. That's only, Facebook, YouTube was founded in 2004. So it's hard to pin something that far back on on them. But definitely in recent years, people, and it's, the news industry has always been an expensive thing to do. Paying everybody's salary in here, to do news every day, as much as we do every day, more than 35 hours a week. And that doesn't even count what we do online. That's an expensive thing to do, but it's always been paid for through advertising, primarily. People had newspaper subscriptions, but that didn't pay the freight. It was always the advertising that footed the bill. So getting subscriptions for news is it's tough to fill that hole left by the advertisers who have fled to online platforms. And there's reasons for that. Your phone is in your pocket, right? Your TV is on your wall, so it's a bit different when you're TV advertising versus mobile advertising. So that's why we offer that as well, to try and be at as many places as we can. But those advertisers have gone to other places. Now, there have been some ebbs and flows. Because the broadcast industry and the advertisers have done the research where it's like where Google would say, okay, well, people bought that car, and they searched through Google, but you back it up and you say, well, they searched through Google because they saw the television ad first. So that's the type of research that we're doing to try and bring some of it back, because the digital advertising market is gigantic. I think it's almost a $10 billion business in Canada. Just digital advertising, not the whole market, but 85% of that goes to 2 companies, Google and Facebook.
I just remember being a kid and I was going to try and go down the road of classifieds, just how big of a part of the newspapers that was. Because, even as a kid, I'd get the St. Catharines Standard. And then on Fridays, my parents would be there circling garage sales.
Yeah.
Right. And all that stuff is going to Facebook for free.
Yeah, some people say Facebook Marketplace is one of the top 5 retailers in the world now. Because garage sales, do they even happen anymore? I don't see
my dad goes every Saturday.
All right,
so, yeah,
okay.
My dad goes every Saturday to as many as he can find. He's in the search for the perfect Pyrex bowl. So
all right.
He's looking, yeah.
So I've actually done a little bit of research on this, and there's been about 4 years ago, I remember seeing a statistic that for some newspapers, classified ads were 40% of their annual revenue. And that's gone completely, except for those who maybe want to put some obituaries in. You still see a pretty heavy obituary page some weekends, you know, where people want to see it in print.
Yeah.
Because it looks nice in print, something you can cut and save, put on your fridge, send to friends, that type of thing. But as far as, you know, my car's for sale, not anymore.
No.
You know, and those would cost $100, $200, $300 to run those ads. And now you can put it on Kijiji for free.
Wow. Bill CAT, I know we're focused on the misinformation that's being put out there, but there seems to be a lot. There's players like us, which are a bit smaller.
Yep.
And then there's the Bells and the Rogers. How on board is everyone with C18? Like how loudly are they fighting in these meetings with other broadcasters that you attend?
Well, I mean, all the broadcasters are on board with C18. You know, it's not a perfect bill, but it's the best thing we can see to level the playing field, because we have a ton of regulations and things we have to abide by in order to operate the way we do. And the social media companies have almost none. Do they give us value by circulating our links and getting us online to other people? They certainly do. But the thing that hasn't happened is they refuse to value what we give them, which is that engagement time, which is that good content, which is that factual content.
So we like you said, our videos that are posted on YouTube, those are monetized. On Facebook, it was never, you never saw a cent from Facebook. Like, how did that work?
We saw a little bit from Facebook,
Sure.
but I mean, I'm talking like dollars.
Yeah.
You know, not you know, and even the stuff we monetize on YouTube is not that great because YouTube takes all the money. You know, we still make some, you know, and we're happy for it. And we do reach a fair number of people on YouTube. You see them with your podcast. We see them with our 6 o'clock news and Morning Live and Trending Now. You know, we're happy to be on those platforms. We really are. But they claim most of the money, and they have all the power of the distribution. You know, we get videos knocked off for reasons we can't figure out. You know, they're just straight up news videos, but the algorithm, which is a mystery to everybody, including most of the people that work at those companies, will knock them off, and they kind of go, we don't know why.
This question I'm trying to ask everybody these days, because it seems, you know, with the lack of resources, the amount of misinformation out there, bad actors who want to flood, you know, like you said, with crap, you want to flood the zone with crap, and you don't know what's true or not. So how do people become better, more informed citizens in times like this, where there is, again, bad actors, disinformation, misinformation, and everything out there? AI is out there. How do you become a smarter citizen in times like these?
You really do have to take some personal responsibility to inform yourself properly. You know, just because, you know, your Uncle Bob posted something on Facebook doesn't mean it's true. You honestly have to check Uncle Bob's sources. But if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to go, I got to check and see whether this is true, go to a trusted news source. Go to CHCH, go to CTV, go to the New York Times, go to the Hamilton Spectator. I mean, I'm the news director of CHCH. I want everyone to come here, but I'm saying, like, if you have any doubt at all, go to a trusted news source. And if it's a new one where you don't, you know, if it says, you know, the Podunk Examiner, you know, is this real? Check the masthead. You know, it'll show you there. If there's actual people doing actual stories, you will probably be able to figure it out. But even then, AI is getting so good that it's fooling people. So that's why it's good to have a 69-year-old brand like we do. You know, CHCH, where people know they can come back. People in this area know they can come back to it. And the same goes for the Spec and CTV and others.
Yeah, I mean, like, big picture, as a news director, like, I mean, we're here talking about this misinformation that was posted. Obviously that, bothered you as a news director? Use it right. Like,
it's a good thing we didn't do this yesterday.
Pissed you off.
Wouldn't have been able to publish it.
Might have been a few more. Get the bleep button ready. But I mean, just as a news director in general these days, like it just seems like you do have people who are refusing to be interviewed, who would call you fake news. Like I've been a reporter out. I've seen our camera guys like driving our cars get yelled at for fake news. Like what, as a news director here in 2023. Getting ready for a big election down in the States. Canadian election could be called literally at any moment right now with the way, like what, is there anxiousness? Like, are you worried? Like, and what do we do? What do we do?
Like when we go out to political rallies, I'm worried. We send, when we think there's going to be an issue, we send two people now. We don't send just a VJ. We send a camera operator and a VJ. I've approached some of our fellow broadcasters about pooling security when the next federal election is called, because we know there's going to be people out there who are believing some of these faked videos, because it's not just faked advertisement, it's also faked videos about, here's Donald Trump getting his 2 Nobel Peace Prizes. Are you kidding me? That didn't happen. All we can do at the end of the day is point at what we put out. Morning Live, Evening News, Trending Now, the 11 o'clock, CHCH.com, all of our accounts across social. All we can do is point to this and say, look, we are working our asses off every day to get out news we know you need. And so please come here and trust us, because you can, because we've been around forever and we have codes and ethics and practices that we work our way through every day with all 70 to 80 people in this building.
Well, you mentioned your Uncle Bob. And I guess that's the other part of it too, is having that conversation with someone who is sharing. But a lot of those people, again, we've seen people can fall down a rabbit hole very quickly. What's your advice to having that conversation with your Uncle Bob? Or Thanksgiving's coming up. Politics is going to be quite a topic, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Just watch it. I mean, what's your advice to somebody who would sit around the table and say, "Oh, that's fake news," and B, continually sharing this misinformation, disinformation on their Facebook?
So what I would say is actually try to have an open heart. Don't say, Uncle Bob, you're an idiot. Say, Uncle Bob, I think the information you're talking about is not correct. Approach them with a more open point of view, where you have a way out. You offer them a way out, where Uncle Bob, you're not an idiot. Uncle Bob, your information, I think, is wrong, and here's a different place that I think has correct information. That's really all you can do. You don't have to try and argue with them and convince him that he's wrong and tear down the dinner. You can just say, I don't think you're right. Here's what I think is right. That's honestly the best you can do. And I've talked to some misinformation experts on that, like Tim Caulfield at the University of Alberta. He's great to follow on Twitter. He's constantly breaking stuff like this down. And, that's what he espouses as well, is that you got to try and approach it with an open heart, and don't just name call. Don't look for the mic drop moment.
Well, because now I feel like we're not. I don't want to say we're getting off subject here, but there are places that act as legitimate news sources, and I'm thinking online. Maybe some extreme right-wing views, which may not be regulated under the CRTC currently. And with this push on online broadcasters, we saw Elon Musk calling out Justin Trudeau for wanting to regulate CRTC, to regulate podcasts, online news sources, things like that. I mean, as a news director of CHCH, an institution that's been around for 69 years, what scares you about those ones?
So that's actually a bit of a different argument, because Elon is talking about something that is Bill C-11, which is now the Online News Act, or the Canadian Online Streaming Act, which is basically our new Broadcasting Act. So what the government has asked for is basically name, address, and email address for any podcaster making over $10 million a year. That's all they're asking for right now.
Sorry, podcasting? You can make $10 million a year in podcasting?
That's news to me.
Apparently, I would have jumped at this much sooner. I would have jumped at this much sooner if I had known that.
That's very much news to me. However, you know, and what they want to do, they want a registry of you know, who's doing professional audiovisual media in Canada. Yeah. So that they can apply the new bill to them. But the regulations, there's a public hearing coming starting November the 20th, which CHCH will be at, and we'll be presenting our point of view. And anybody can sign up to be at and present their point of view. And 6 months after that, we'll have new regulations around the new Broadcasting Act. And from the broadcaster point of view, what we want is a similar playing field with us, the Netflixes of the world, the Disney Pluses of the world, where they just throw their content in, and it's great content and people love it. I'm not disparaging the content, but we are bound by regulation to spend a lot of our money on Canadian content, be it news or other things. Mm-hmm. There's nothing like that for the Netflixes of the world and other streamers. So should there be? Yeah, I think so. If we're going to have a country, if we're going to have a separate country with a separate culture and a separate point of view, then yeah, we need to be spending money on our own culture, our own content, and our own news. You know, let's say Global News was sold to CBS. You think they'd have a 6 o'clock news in Toronto, or you think they'd have a Toronto bureau that would serve New York? I don't know. You know, and if it's the second option, that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this conversation kind of scared the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie, Greg. I appreciate you making the time.
I will say, Louis, it is great to be an independent.
Yeah.
You know, what we do here is what you do here, what all of the people in this building do here is fantastic. You know, and we can really concentrate on what we do and serving our area, Hamilton, Halton, Niagara, Brant. I mean, I know I'm tooting my own horn here, our own horn here. You know, but it's really, you know, we really can concentrate on our area, and it really helps us sort of stick to our knitting and serve the citizens in our area as best we can.
Well put. Greg O'Brien, thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Louis.
He's the news director here at CHCH. I'm going to hold you to that. You said great job. I'm going to make sure I put that on tape somewhere. My thanks to Greg O'Brien for joining me. My thanks to you as well. Make sure to like and subscribe to CHCH Podcast so you never miss an episode of this show or any of the other great shows we have for you, including the Trending Now podcast with a new episode that just dropped on Friday. If you're listening, you can go to chch.com/podcast or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If you're watching, you can scan that QR code that's there on your screen. Thanks to everybody who helped put this show together. Couldn't do it without you. I'm Louis Butko for CHCH. Have a great day.